Good morning. I think I I discovered some concrete features where random returns to some characteristics of Frege's philosophy that the later Wittgenstein had discarded. And on the other hand, of course, there are quite a few features of the later Wittgenstein's language philosophy that random share, but which are not to be found in Frege, or which had to be discarded by both of them. Be that as it may, I think there is a basic problem for random which I have not yet been able to quite figure out. Frege, uh, of course, thinks there is some objective truth in logic, and logic depends on this objective truth that is just there independently of what we might think of it, that this is a truth that is somehow God-given, a feature that he had inherited from his teacher in philosophy of religion, Hermann Lotze. Hermann Lotze. Well, and of course, both Brandom and the later Wittgenstein substitute this idea of an objective truth by the Kantian feature of uh, of logic being dependent on uh, on the normative nature of the rules that govern language and our thought, uh, which makes uh, language and thought and conceptual content and the like things uh, a social feature, a topic that Frege was not, at least not explicitly aware of, as it would seem. Now, the problem I tried to allude to for Brandom is this. For Wittgenstein, what plays a role in the language games are not the sentences but the words themselves, as they come up in sentences, of course, because out of a sentence, out of the use in an assertion, for example, if we are talking about assertions, words play no role. They have to play a role in a language games, and language games came normally as sentences. But the role play the words in themselves, not how they figure structurally in the sentence. This is quite a secondary characteristic of language, that we have ways of talking, but these ways of talking themselves are normatively figured and not by some abstract logic rule. Now, in the article from Tolksdorf I have been talking about, Tolksdorf describes the move from the natural vocabulary we use in an object language to the meta vocabulary Random uses in order to make explicit what norms there are being followed in our normal language use. That the way he does this is can be described as uh, algorithms. But if this is so, we would have to figure out how algorithms come into play here, because algorithms, at first sight at least, do not seem to depend on uh, autonomous norms that come into being by the language use in concrete language games, but seem to be quite independently of these norms and seem to be very very abstract features. Now, this is clearly something I have not yet really thought through, but this is something that should be discussed because, well, it is something that would make Brandom closer to Frege's philosophy of language than to the later Wittgenstein's. And if this is or is not a sound development, I don't know. Now, there is something else, of course. Brandom thinks of the difference between human language and the sounds made, for example, by other animals like whales or apes, is separated by bright line, which is marked by the use of concepts, by the capacity of making inferences from our assertions and to take commitments from what we assert, and our entitlement to these commitments and compromises with these stemming from these commitments. Now, I think uh, this is a feature that is obviously is there, but I have the feeling that Brandon makes too much of it. What distinguishes for us human language from other uh, communicative sounds or signs that other creatures on this earth make is that language is our way of coordinating our actions, and that we see language from within. And this is a much more important feature than the use, let's say, of inferences in order to establish conceptual content. I don't know if this is enough of a distinction uh, to really mark our way of communicating off from other creatures. I think it is more that it is us and not them who do the talking, and not so much some formal feature, as I take it, are the inferential relations between assertions. Well, uh, well, this was more of a thinking than of a speaking exercise, but well, this is what it is. That's it for today.